4 Wives Down. I really should get on and read the last book in the series before I start to look foolish. For those of you who are new to my channel, every 1,000 subscribers I get, I am going to review a historical fiction novel. It can be from any time period, any sort of series. We can even have weird alternate realities. But for now, between 2,000 and 7,000 subscribers, I'm working my way through Alison Weir's 6 Tudor Queens series. And now that we've reached 5,000 subscribers, the time has come to look at the 4th instalment, which arguably takes the largest liberties with history. This video will talk about certain elements which you really do not want to have spoiled. So if you're going into these novels now and you want to go in blind, you don't want any spoilers, you probably shouldn't watch this review because there are spoilers. And lots of them. Alright Alan, if you want laps that much. But you can't sit on this because it's too nice. Also, I'm going to put a trigger warning in. The first chapter has some very blurry lines when it comes to consent. If that is something that might upset you, please just bear that in mind. This was the first novel in the series which I didn't listen to on audiobook, and this was how I found a little epilogue at the end of every novel in which Alison Weir justifies her major plot points, or major changes from history. Her greatest historical liberties. I think if I'd listened to it first, I might have torn out my headphones and walked away shouting nope. But after the greatest liberty that was found in this, I looked at the end of the book and I realised, oh, so this is why it happened. Granted, I knew what was coming in this novel because there was a book review headline not long after it came out, and I was looking for images of the series, and this was just before book 5 released, so there were still headlines about reviews of number 4. So I did have time to prepare myself for the revelation. It's like if you go to the new Disney or Pixar movie and you know ahead of time that there's going to be a twist villain, because of course there is, although they don't seem to be doing that anymore since John Lasseter left. Anyway, let us beat about the bush no longer. Let's review Anna Von Kleve, Queen of Secrets. The story begins in the year 1530 at Schwanenberg Castle. By the way, if I butcher any German pronunciations in this review, I apologise. I wasn't allowed to take German for GCSE, even though I really wanted to. 15-year-old Anna and her family have gathered to welcome their relatives, the von Wielicks, Otto, Elizabeth, and Otto's bastard son, also named Otto. And yes, it is written as Otho in the text, but I listened to a little bit of the audiobook, and if the narrator pronounces it Otto, I'm going to say Otto, because I assumed that was how it was supposed to be said. As a bastard, Otto Jr. cannot inherit his father's titles and will have to make his own way one day. But here's the thing, when the novel mentioned Schwanenberg Castle, I hadn't yet written my coverage of Anna Von Kleve, so I didn't know what this castle was supposed to look like. Because of pop culture, when I think German castle, I of course immediately think of Neuschwanstein Castle. I mean, can you blame me? They both have swan in their name. And the events of the first chapter culminate in a big tower. So it's not Neuschwanstein Castle, it's Schwanenberg Castle, because I think Neuschwanstein Castle is in Bavaria anyway, and that's quite far away from Kleve, so... Anyway, young Otto von Wielich is 17, and from the moment he and Anna see each other, they are besotted. We learn from the very start how strict the court of Kleve is, where all the wine has to be locked away at 9 o'clock, even her father's. To Anna, this is a normal part of life, and her engagement to Lorraine is believed to be imminent, to the extent where she is even addressed as Marquise, with her siblings Wilhelm and Amalia. She goes to show Otto the castle. Wilhelm and Amalia decide not to go up the tower with Otto and Anna. The two are left alone together, when they otherwise wouldn't have. Here we see how sheltered Anna really is, where she innocently accepts Otto's compliments on her beauty, although she does feel that she shouldn't, but she feels that she shouldn't ruin anything. And Otto arguably does take advantage of Anna's naivety, where he makes his move. And he has sex with her and tells her it's called kissing. Yeah, I was pretty uncomfortable reading this chapter. The consent is very murky, indeed. Anna doesn't explicitly say yes. He sort of love bombs her until she stops resisting and uses her innocence against her, so she doesn't realise what she's doing is considered immoral by the standards of society at the time. I'd put this on the same level as the relationship between Melchior and Wendla in Spring Awakening. In the original play, Melchior full-on forced himself on Wendla, but in the musical it was changed where it was consensual, although Wendla was so sheltered she didn't know what sex was, but she was still curious about it, so really it's just up to your own personal judgment. So no surprises as to what happens next. Anna becomes pregnant from this one sexual encounter, and she comes to realise what really happened as her mother and nursemaid arranged to hide this circumstance. She spends several months isolated from her family under the guise of illness, gives birth to a boy, whom she names after her father, Johann, and the baby is adopted by a local family who are none the wiser about where the baby came from. They just wanted to adopt a baby. Anna returns to her family, and history plays out as usual with the pre-contract to Lorraine falling through, and the marriage plans with Henry VIII begin. Anna is sad to have never gotten to raise her son, but this won't be the last we see of him, because you don't read a 500-page paperback without something as big as a pregnancy that never really happened coming back to have some kind of payoff. Oh, Alan is so cute. He's got a lovely face. He's such a small face I can hold in my hands right there. Anna has to undergo the long journey across Europe to England. In the coterie accompanying her is Otto von Wielich himself. They pretend as if nothing happened between them, but Anna still has feelings for him. Before she leaves, Anna gets to see little Johann very briefly as he is brought to present a gift to her. On the crossing from Calais to England, we also briefly meet Mary Boleyn, but it is more of a cameo because she doesn't come back again, and we just literally get explained who she is, and then everyone moves on. Because at that point, Mary and her husband are relocating from Calais back to England at the same time that Anna is crossing the channel. At this point, I need to point out that this, like the other books in the series, uses very slow pacing, so please bear that in mind before you decide to read it. With Anna, rather than building towards an ultimate event like an execution or a significant death, Anna's story is more about her living her life and trying to have as peaceful and fulfilling an existence as possible, but there is always someone taking it from her. Anna's introduction to Henry goes as it really went in history, with Henry disguising himself and surprising her, rather than him just taking one look at her and storming out. This being solely from Anna's perspective, we see just how embarrassed and culture shocked she was. And on the wedding night, because of this whole pregnancy storyline that now exists, we have Henry recognising Anna's body as one that has borne a child, but he cannot say anything without conclusive proof or insulting Kleve, which he is supposed to have an alliance with. Thus, her short reign plays out. Anna is uneasy about Henry's lack of affection, the gossiping courtiers, and the uncertain news about her coronation. This is our first glimpse of Catherine Howard too. One thing I wish I could have seen more of in these novels is more interactions between the wives. Considering how long they are, these ladies only get a few scenes at most to communicate, and sometimes it's not so flattering, as we saw back in the Jane Seymour instalment and the insane villainisation of Anne Boleyn. Anna and Catherine communicate only twice, I believe. It's a brief interaction as Catherine asks to return to Lambeth. Anna, not knowing this is part of Norfolk and Gardner's plan to oust her, agrees. I think their only interaction is much later, after the annulment, when Anna is invited for Christmas. Eventually, Anna is removed to Richmond, and this is the first time she meets Mary and Elizabeth. The novel remembers what a lot of other portrayals forget. That being, Anna was only a year older than Mary. Mary is portrayed as reserved but welcoming towards Anna when she realises she isn't a Protestant. With Elizabeth, Anna recognises that she is starving for maternal affection and wants to be a mother to her. Then we get the divorce, and the rest of the novel focuses mainly around Anna's relationship with Otto and its rekindling. Although Otto got married at an earlier time, their relationship fell apart and they separated, with his wife returning to Germany. Anna tells Otto about their secret son and fall in love all over again, resuming their romance in a far more consensual way. Anna does get pregnant again, but the child is stillborn. Otto sends for their son, who then works in Anna's household as a faithful servant, none the wiser, but Anna is glad to have both of them nearby. So you have such events as Catherine Howard's downfall, Henry's death, Edward's reforms, Lady Jane Grey and Mary's accession, and Wyatt's rebellion play out through Anna's lens. Almost every chapter begins with a servant bringing or announcing the news to Anna as she stays at Hever Castle or Bletchingley or Richmond. For example, when Francis Derham and Thomas Culpeper are executed, she doesn't personally go to see the execution, but allows her maids to travel into London from Richmond to observe. They come back and then describe it to her. Towards the end of her life, Anna is exploited by the privy councils of both Edward and Mary. Edward's council refuses to let Anna marry Otto, as they tell her they would stop giving her the money promised to her by Henry, that she needs to keep running her estates. And Mary, through the influence of Philip II of Spain, who has no love for Germans, orders Anna to dismiss Otto from her household, to return to Cleves, where her brother's realm has now been seized by the Holy Roman Empire, and he is now a puppet ruler. Anna is heartbroken to see him go, but at least gets to keep Johann. Although Anna's cause of death is unknown, this version suggests that she suffered from breast cancer. Before Otto was banished, he noticed she had a lump on her breast that gets steadily worse over time until her death in 1557. It is a very moving scene as Mary and Elizabeth send their condolences. She makes a last will and tells Johann that she is his real mother. The previous 3 novels had the Queen's visions fade to black as they breathe their last. For Catherine of Aragon and Anne Boleyn, their deaths came as a blessed relief from the pain. For Jane, she held the image of her newborn son as she slipped away while Henry cried in vain for her. For Anna Von Kleve, she hallucinates seeing Otto returning to her at the last minute. Because I'm one of those people that peeks at the ending sometimes, I thought for a while that this had really happened and Otto had somehow managed to make it back just in time to be with her at the last minute, but it didn't, and she died without her true love by her side. With the little we know about Anna Von Kleve and the few interpretations we have of her character, it's very easy to write Anna as passive and submissive. However, that is not the kind of character that will carry you through 500 pages and 27 years worth of history. Anna isn't the most standout heroine you'll find, but as I was planning out this script, I concluded that Anna is defined by 2 traits throughout the story: empathy and humility. Each person she meets, especially the more vulnerable like Elizabeth, and the women who serve her, she shows unconditional kindness to. She very rarely feels animosity towards anyone, and it is only when they push her that she has to assert herself. For example, there is Thomas Corden, who tries to micromanage Anna's running of Bletchingley. However, she does not celebrate the misfortunes of her enemies. She pities Catherine Howard and Lady Jane Grey, and even feels sorry for Mary when it is clear her marriage to Philip II has slightly robbed her of her independent mindset. Regardless of Anna's losses and sufferings, she never loses who she is, nor her personal values. She will love whom she loves without shame, and while Henry and Edward and Mary take so much from her, she is never truly broken, and her kindness to others comes back to her, and she dies with many mourning her. Her own wants are simple: a quiet life with her son and the man she loves. While she doesn't get it in the way that she wants, she makes do. There are instances where she enjoys doing her own baking at Christmas, introducing some local customs, and I think there was a bit where she actually does bring in a Christmas tree to decorate at Richmond. Christmas trees were popular in Germany, but they didn't become a staple in English households until the Victorian era because Prince Albert came over. Anna's life may not have been one worth celebrating or lionising, but it is her life, and at least she got to live it to the best of her abilities. This novel shows a woman who went through an event in her youth that, for many women at the time, would have permanently ruined her life, but she was fortunate to have people who loved her to move past this. In the cutthroat world of Tudor politics, those who sought peace and stayed out of politics, like Anna Von Kleve or even Mary Boleyn, slipped into near obscurity. But is that really such a bad thing? I'd say Anna Von Kleve, Queen of Secrets, is best approached when you're ready for a slow read and you don't have a ton of stuff on your to-read list. Or if you do have a lot of stuff, you don't feel pressured to ignore the larger books in favour of the shorter ones. I myself am a bit of a slow reader, and it depends on if I have enough time to read or not. I read this sometime in the summer of 2021, So I didn't have much going on as we were just coming out of lockdown. There were restrictions in place and I was just working on the channel. I didn't have anything else going on really. As an attempt to show how Anna's life might have played out, it's fine. Your enjoyment of it depends on if you can overcome this whole secret illegitimate child plotline. And because Weir admitted that this was speculative and not meant to be taken seriously, I could overlook it. Last thing we need is a respected writer doubling down on conspiracy theories. But overall it shows that if there had been a secret child, nothing much would have changed, as Henry would have been caught in an unwinnable situation where he couldn't prove it, nor could he endanger the alliance he'd just made. Next in the series is Catherine Howard, which I will review at 6,000 subscribers. My thoughts are mixed, but you'll find out why when we get there. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed the nice autumnal scenery that came with my review. I'm doing this very quietly because it's nearly midnight on Wednesday the 19th of October. I had to get this done. I was covering... Alan, be quiet please. I was covering for Sister Act, so I had to do this late at night before I get up tomorrow and do the whole thing all over again. Sorry there wasn't a bookcase tour, there were several technical difficulties, and by the time I'd realised my mistake it was too late to film it again. But if we can get to 6,000 subscribers by January, maybe I can do it then. I'll have more free time, or at least a lot more free time than I've got right now. And thank you to my patrons who have been supporting me and my work for ages now. I really am grateful for your support, and you can support the channel too by signing up to become a patron. Thank you to my King and Queen patrons who are the highest level contributors and get a shout out in the credits. Thank you Alison Cuff, Larissa, Lady Eternal, Leslie Williams and Jill Mainero. Please make sure that we get to 6,000 subscribers and even further by subscribing to the channel, and make sure you press the bell icon so that way you don't miss any videos that come up in the future. My hope is that we can get videos out every Friday for the foreseeable future.